on the inhabitants of the earth. So you can see there a link between the trumpets and the vials or the plagues. Now, does this mean that the trumpets will have a future fulfillment? Well, first of all, remember that the trumpets are alarms. They are to warn. The trumpets are warnings of coming judgment. The vials are judgment being poured out. And I'd like to read a couple other statements here on this particular point. Volume 5 of the Testimonies, page 136 says, already the judgments of God are abroad in the land, as seen in storms, in floods, in tempests, in earthquakes, in peril by land and by sea. The great I Am is speaking to those who make void his law. When God's wrath is poured out upon the earth, who will then be able to stand? We can see here current judgments and coming judgments, both current and coming. Here is a statement from Last Day Events, page 27. It says, God, quote, God has not restrained the powers of darkness from carrying forward their deadly work of vitiating the air. That means rendering the air lacking of vitality or depraving. It's deadly. One of the sources of life and nutrition, the air, with a deadly miasma. Not only is vegetable life affected, but man suffers from pestilence. Of course, you have probably heard some of these things that have come and are coming. These things are the results of drops from the vials of God's wrath being sprinkled on the earth, and are but faint representations of what will be in the near future. Of course, we know the 7 last plagues are going to fall, but they're not falling yet. However, drops of those vials are already falling. Here is again from Selected Messages, volume 2 this time, page 51. I want to tell you another thing, Ellen White says. I want to tell you another thing. The vials of God's wrath and the sprinkling of them are already coming. What is the matter that we do not discern it? It is because the light of truth does not affect the heart. The Spirit of God is being withdrawn from the world, end of quote. And we can, of course, see that in the events that are happening in the world today. From volume 3 of Selected Messages, page 391, I read this, quote, already sprinklings from the vials of God's wrath have been let fall upon land and sea, affecting the elements of the air. The causes of these unusual conditions are being searched for, but in vain. Now tell me, have the plagues started yet? No. But the drops, the sprinklings have already started. Here is again that statement from volume 3 of Selected Messages, 426. Quote, the battle of Armageddon will be fought, and that day must find none of us sleeping. Solemn events before us are yet to transpire. Trumpet after trumpet is to be sounded. That simply means warning after warning. Vial after vial poured out, one after another, upon the inhabitants of the earth, end of quote. That means judgment after judgment. This is not talking about a future fulfillment of the trumpets. I know some people try to read that into the quotation. Remember, Adventists understand Bible prophecy, Revelation, Daniel, in the historical understanding, starting in the days of the prophet and going all the way to end time. I want to read again that statement from Selected Messages, volume 2, page 102. Some, quote, some will take the truth applicable to their time and place it in the future. That's futurism. Events in the train of prophecy that had their fulfillment away in the past are made future. And thus, by these theories, the faith of some is undermined. And there are even some Seventh-day Adventists that are beginning to interpret the prophecies of Daniel and Revelation in a futuristic manner, like the other Protestant churches. And they're looking for future fulfillment of these events that have already transpired. We'll see the fulfillment of these trumpets as we study today. First of all, the seals and the trumpets, 7 seals, 7 trumpets, they are different. The seals, a seal is something that is closed, hidden. We take an envelope and we seal it, we close it. In fact, Revelation 20, verse 3 says, and cast him into the bottomless pit, this is the devil, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him. See, he's closed up for 1,000 years. That he should deceive the nations no more till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. So you can seal means closed. Revelation 22:10. He said unto me, seal not the sayings of the prophecy of this book. The time is at hand. So we have the seals, which are closed, in contrast to the trumpets, which are open. Trumpet is not something that's secret. In fact, notice from Joel 2, verse 1. The Bible says, blow ye the trumpet in Zion, and sound an alarm in my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of the Lord cometh, for it is nigh at hand. Joel 2:15, blow the trumpet in Zion, sanctify a fast, call a solemn assembly. So we can see trumpets are symbolic of alarms, announcements. Numbers chapter 10, verses 8 through 10 says this, and the sons of Aaron, the priests, shall blow with the trumpets, and they shall be to you for an ordinance forever throughout your generations. And if ye go to war in your land against the enemy that oppresseth you, then ye shall blow an alarm with the trumpets, and ye shall be remembered for the Lord your God, and ye shall be saved from your enemies. Also in the day of your gladness, and in your solemn days, and in the beginnings of your months, ye shall blow with the trumpets for your burnt offerings and over the sacrifices of your peace offerings, that they may be to you for a memorial before your God. I am the Lord your God. We see that the blowing of the trumpets then brings judgment against those who have oppressed God's people. The trumpet being an alarm, right? An announcement, preparing for, proclaiming, introducing things. These 7 trumpets are alarms of judgment, warnings of coming judgments. Let's review what we've seen already today. First of all, we've seen that 7 is a symbol of completeness or perfection. We have noticed that the 7 churches, 7 seals, 7 trumpets, they all cover the same time span, essentially. We study these in the historical method of interpreting prophecy. The Seventh-day Adventist Church practices the historical method of interpreting Bible prophecy. We saw the literary pattern of the seals in relation to the trumpets. We also saw that the trumpets seem to foreshadow the plagues. And we have noticed that the seals are things closed. Of course, they were closed and opened. That's another study. Whereas the trumpets are things that are announcements. They are not sealed. They are alarms. With that background now, let's look at the introduction to the trumpets found in Revelation 8, verses 2 through 5. And the introduction is very significant. Revelation 8, verse 2 says, And I saw the 7 angels which stood before God, and to them were given 7 trumpets. These are trumpets that they might sound warnings. Now, verse 3, Revelation 8, verse 3 says, "And another angel came and stood at the altar, having a golden censer. And there was given unto him much incense, that he should offer it with the prayers of all saints upon the golden altar which was before the throne." Verse 4 now, Revelation verse 4. "And the smoke of the incense, which came with the prayers of the saints, ascended up before God out of the angel's hand." Let's take a careful look at verse 3. It says, "Another angel came and stood at the altar, having a golden censer, and there was given unto him much incense, that he should offer it with the prayers of all saints upon the golden altar, which was before the throne." What we see here is a view of the sanctuary in heaven. This is sanctuary imagery. The Bible tells us in Psalms 77, verse 13, "Thy way, O God, is in the sanctuary." The sanctuary is God's illustration of the plan of salvation, how God is dealing with the problem of sin. And of course, Revelation shows us the completion of that work, which started all the way back after sin came into the world. So we're looking into the sanctuary in heaven. Now, that particular verse, Revelation 8, verse 3, let me read it to you from the American Standard Version. It says, "And an angel came and stood over the altar," or it could be translated, "stood on the altar, having a golden censer, and there was given unto him much incense, that he should add it unto the prayers of all the saints upon the golden altar which was before the throne." It almost seems, as you look at this text, that there are 2 altars. There is the altar that the angel stands on or over, and then there's this golden altar. Now we know the golden altar, that's the altar of incense. What was the other altar? Revelation 8, verse 3, "And another angel came and stood at the altar," or it could be translated, "on the altar," or "upon the altar, having a golden censer, that he was, and there was given unto him much incense, that he should offer it." The offering of incense was the work of who? That was the work of the priest. So question, who is this angel that stands over the altar or on the altar, who officiates incense in the temple in heaven? This priest. Who is the high priest there in heaven? Let me read the answer from Hebrews 4, 14 through 16. "Seeing then that we have a great high priest that is passed into the heavens," the heavenly sanctuary, "Jesus, the Son of God, let us hold fast our profession. For we have not an high priest which cannot be touched with the feelings of our infirmities, but was in all points tempted like as we are, yet without sin. Let us therefore come boldly unto the throne of grace, that we may obtain mercy and find grace to help in time of need." So who is our high priest in heaven? That's Jesus. Now let's go back to Revelation 8, verse 3. "And another angel," I have capitalized that word angel now that you understand who we're looking at. "And another angel came and stood at the altar," or on the altar, upon the altar, "having a golden censer. And there was given unto him much incense, that he should offer it with the prayers of all saints upon the golden altar which was before the throne." So the angel here is Jesus. You say, "Now, Pastor, is Jesus ever called an angel?" Well, you understand in Revelation, an angel is symbolic. It could be an angel of God, one of the angels up in heaven. But sometimes it's even referred to as a person on earth. You know, the seven churches, the angel of the seven churches was their pastor. An angel simply means a messenger. And this angel here who is officiating or offering the incense, we know the priest, that's his work. And our high priest in heaven is Jesus. That angel is the angel of the covenant. Listen, God's Amazing Grace, page 85 says, pray, yes, pray with unshaken faith and trust. The angel of the covenant, even who? Even our Lord Jesus Christ is the mediator. That's the work of the high priest in heaven, to mediate, is the mediator who secures the acceptance of the prayers of his believing ones. So now we understand the picture. And another angel, Christ, the angel of the covenant, came and stood at the altar, or more literally translated, stood on the altar or upon the altar. That's symbolic of his sacrifice, himself the sacrifice on Calvary's cross. Having a golden censer, himself the priest. That's the work of the priest. And there was given unto him much incense, that he should offer it. That's the work of the priest. Christ is our high priest, with the prayers of all saints upon the golden altar, which was before the throne. You have the picture? Standing on the merits of the sacrifice he made on the altar of Calvary. This angel, the angel of the covenant, Jesus, stood at the altar or on the altar or upon the